From the Victory Studios in downtown Little Rock, this is Capitol View with your host, David Goins.
And good Sunday morning to you. It's just about time to unwrap the gifts from under the tree, and we've got a few of them for you here this morning. A final look at the 89th General Assembly a little later, but we start this morning with the 46th governor of the state of Arkansas. Asa Hutchinson is here. Good morning, sir. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good to be with you, David.
As we alluded kind of just a few days before Christmas, when you look back at 2014, is it a blur or is it the longest year of your life?
You know, before this year, I think the longest year of my life was when I was at Homeland Security, but this last year has been long but incredibly gratifying, obviously, with a successful election, and then just with the thrill of working with people to get the new government organized and the transition. You just see everything that's good about Arkansas, and I can say that 2014 has been fantastic, but I'm looking forward to even a better year next year.
All right, so I guess when January started, this kind of conclusion was what you'd hoped for, and that's what you got, right?
Exactly. I can't complain about where I am because I worked hard for it, and people gave it to me very graciously, and so we're very excited.
Okay, talk about a little bit about the transition, because I know it's been going on over a period of weeks. You know, it's a typical day at this point, just kind of talking to folks one by one and seeing who's going to be part of the team.
Well, this is probably the typical day is working on personnel, which is getting my team together, making sure we have the right people in place and all the agencies of state government ready to take charge or take over on January 13th. But then also it's getting ready for the legislative session, and so I've been spending a lot of time on budget, meeting with DF&A, but also really pouring through with my budget team the different agencies, their budget, not just amending the budget necessarily that we're receiving from Governor Beebe, but looking at it more deeply. And so we should have something like that ready in January, or major parts of it. So the budget side of it, and then starting to work with the legislators on some really tough issues we're going to have to confront next year. I've met with John Seelig, of course, DHS, about the healthcare issues that we're going to have to make some decisions on, but also youth services and some things that's going to be in my lap January 13th.
You mentioned John Seelig, and just a quick, any thoughts on the indictments? I know you're probably aware of that related to some misuse of the food program. Does that give you pause about DHS? Well,
first of all, you know, John Seelig came and briefed me on that in advance, and the key thing is that this is something that was discovered internally. They asked the Inspector General federally to investigate this, so they might not have seen all of the ramifications of it, but some of the internal processes worked. And so they've been aware of some of these challenges and really cooperate with the investigation. So he's just as delighted as anyone that when there's problems in a program that they administer, that they get to the bottom of it, the investigation is conducted, and that's what happened. But my question to him was, and we all should ask this, is what lessons can we learn from this? Because I don't like picking up the paper and seeing $3.9 million wasted on a computer project. I don't like seeing our state employees indicted on a criminal case. I don't like to see, whether it's federal money or state money, it is terrible that this money would be wasted and stolen and resulting in criminal charges. So there's a lot of work to do to make sure we have the systems in place to prevent this.
So comfortable with the internal controls, at least now with DHS. You mentioned the 3.9 wasted on it was a computer. Are we referring to DIS and some of the broadband issues? Or?
No, this was at DHS in I think it's a software contract for improving their systems, and the contractor didn't perform, and they were not able to recover the money. So it was one of those things
kind of they
that
paid them off already, and
yeah,
no chance to recoup.
It was just lost money, and they had to redo the services and rebid it out.
Okay, well, and you touched on budget, looking at some of the details of budget, which you've let us know that it will come out later in January. Can you share little morsels of maybe what Duncan Baird, who I know has had his hands in budget for a long time, is maybe sharing with you to kind of illuminate the conversation? Duncan's
doing a good job. Delighted to have him as my budget director, and spent a lot of time with him over this last week. And some of the things that we're looking at are old programs that may have outlived their usefulness, and then other sub-programs that can be merged into a combining agency to save the overhead. It makes sense that they're combined. So there's just a number of little things that you're looking at, but then also you've got to look at the big ticket items. I've spent time on the Department of Corrections issue and the question of whether we need a $100 million new prison. And that is one of the, because that's not even in Governor Beebe's budget at all.
Right.
That is outside of that budget, but it's something that I've got to deal with. And so we're looking at what are the best options there, whether it is to build a new prison or whether it is to try to utilize additional existing space, or to look at more effective reentry programs that might help us to prevent having to build a new prison. So
you mentioned or, are those also ands? I mean, I keep hearing, that we're going to see a mix. I mean, does that feel like that is maybe the way this is rolling?
That's a better phraseology, actually, is we're looking at all the options, and it could be a mixture of those. In other words, rather than building a $100 million prison, perhaps we can look at a regional concept. Maybe we could look at some expansion of existing facilities combined with, which is what I've always wanted to do, is to change behavior so we don't have to build new prisons. And Texas, a few years back, instead of building a new prison, they put money into reentry programs, more parole officers, helping them get a job when they're out, reduce the recidivism rate, and their crime rate went down, their cost went down. Mm-hmm. We've got to change behavior in this state, and I think a combination of those, of a more effective parole system, of a better reentry system, but also additional space, because clearly we do need some additional space.
On Thursday, the Public Health Committee, both Senate and House, talked about how well the private option is doing. As far as cost, there were some overruns for a little bit. Now those overruns seem to be coming back to the target. What's kind of your takeaway, your impression from some of the most recent numbers you're seeing?
Well, that's right. At first, the monthly premium cost was higher than the federal projection or authorized amount. It's getting closer to that amount, and we're hopeful that that will get down to the target amount next year. But that remains to be seen. So that's one cost figure. The other cost figure that has always been more of a concern of mine is when the state starts picking up the 10%.
Sure. By 2020.
And what I've always said is we're going to continue to learn from other states. And so Tennessee, under Governor Bill Haslam, just released a plan seeking additional waivers and also having some of the funding cared for or guaranteed by the hospitals kicking in on that. So it's good to learn from the other states. Utah added a work requirement or a retraining requirement, and of course they're seeking a waiver for that. So a lot of ideas we're getting from other states that we can utilize to tweak or fine-tune what we have.
Do you see it as a positive that the other states that maybe haven't done Medicaid expansion at this point are looking at Arkansas as a basis for a model to do so with their own tweaks?
I think it reflects the continued pressure on their state budgets, on the need of their hospitals to survive and to reduce the uncompensated care. So they're looking for solutions. And obviously Arkansas is one of those models that they look at, but now they have a Tennessee model. They got a Utah version of that as well. So that's what's great about governors. That's what's great about the states. They're the laboratory of innovation, and we've been a part of that. But let me come back to the discussions on this. We've had an election, and a number of people were elected in opposition to the private option and voting for the repeal of it. So we've got to find a solution that can bring people together and that can protect our hospitals, make sure that our health care is not denied to those that have begun to rely upon this expanded system of the private option, and that we can afford. That's what I'm trying to bring together, and I've made it clear that my announcement's going to be in mid-January or later, once we really investigate this, work with the legislatures on it, and I'll make sure my position is very clear.
Sounds like you're getting close, though.
Well, we're all working hard to get close.
Does it feel like the discussion that's happening in Arkansas is maybe like a miniature version of what's happening in D.C. with this idea of repeal or make tweaks or changes and trying to find that middle ground?
You know, I haven't spoken to the administration officials in Washington yet. That's, again, on my list to do, because some of the things we're talking about needs to be done will require additional waivers. And before we go down that path, I want to make sure that those waivers are within the realm of possibility. And what we're seeing is that the states are pushing the federal government to grant more flexibility. And there's an increasing understanding of the need for innovation, waivers, and the more broad-based those waivers can be, then the more comfortable our legislators will be and that we can run the program that fits Arkansas. Okay,
very good. Let's stay. Can you stay for a little bit longer?
Yes.
Get some last-second Christmas shopping, I know, but you'll stick with us. Governor-elect Asa Hutchinson is our guest this morning. We'll be back with more after a quick break. I'm David Goins. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
Looks like it's time.
Your life doesn't have to stop when the power goes out. You can protect your home from power loss even during ice and snowstorms with one call to Power Systems by Royal. Our standby power systems turn on automatically and run on the natural gas line in your home, so you don't have to worry about dragging it out, filling it up, and running an extension cord throughout your home. Get power to your entire house within seconds. Keep important things like your refrigerator, lights, water, and heating unit running no matter what happens.
Call now for your standby power system during our end-of-the-year savings sale and receive a free one-year maintenance agreement. Don't be stuck without power this winter. Call Power Systems by Royal Windows and More.
Well, they're on their way. Almost ready.
However you plan to celebrate the season, you'll find low prices on great food to share the joy of the holidays at your neighborhood Kroger.
Right now, bone-in Smithfield Shank Half Ham is $1.59 a pound, and 3-pound packs of Kroger Bacon are $9.99. Share a little holiday joy with Kroger.
Start your mornings with KARK4 Today, weekdays starting at 4, followed by The Today Show at 7.
It's all about early, and I wanna be there.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
Welcome back to Capitol View. I'm David Goins, and we rejoin our guest this morning, Governor-elect Asa Hutchinson, soon to be the 46th governor in a couple weeks. Coming out of the break, let's look at, you've talked about kind of putting together your various state agency heads. I know, let's look at education for one. You have the Department of Higher Education, Shane Broadway, who will be leaving to take a job at Arkansas State University. And do you have a sense of kind of where you want to go through with K through 12 education? Kind of talk about those.
Well, in terms of higher education, Shane Broadway is leaving, so that'll be a vacancy. And we've communicated with the board, and they're going to start a search that's really required to do a formal search for that position. Obviously, we'll be engaged in that process as well. In terms of K through 12 education, which is such a critical spot, Tony Wood has graciously agreed to stay and help through the legislative session, and everyone recognizes that we will have a change there down the road. But I've been talking to him, and it's really some key issues are cannot wait very long there. We're talking about the broadband report, that getting broadband to our schools. You're talking about what I think is important is a review of where we're going in the future on Common Core. We need to implement my vision of computer science in every high school. These are things that have to start now, and I've talked great conversation with Tony Wood. He's going to be helping us to initiate some of these. So we're off and marching there, and so there's not an immediate urgency. We're taking these agencies one at a time to make sure we get the right people in place with the right backgrounds, and so that's one of them. We'll have a couple to be announcing in the very near future, and we're increasing the pace of those. Some are high profile and some are in the trenches but critical to the operation of government and some of the things we need to do in the law enforcement community. So we'll take it one at a time and try to get the best people there possible.
Yeah, the next segment we'll actually have a little bit on this idea of the high-speed broadband network that the legislature talked about earlier this week. It seems like from talking with legislators, there's not as much support to tie into, you know, the higher education network. Does that seem like whatever you're in support of kind of whatever they come up with, or do you have a strong opinion either way?
No, we want the executive branch to be involved in this. The legislature has done a great job in giving good guidance, and their report that just came out is helpful. We've also have a Department of Education report. Both of them indicate, though, that we don't need to rely exclusively on the RON network, which is the university higher education network. So I think it's moving toward more of a private sector response to the needs to get broadband everywhere.
Okay, and while we still have a few more minutes, kind of going back to the budget, do you see yourself in support of any additional tax cuts from the General Assembly outside of what you've talked about, which was, you know, the 1% income tax cut for middle income earners? Anything beyond that, if the General Assembly says, hey, we want to come up with some other ideas, what do you say as the executive?
My message is very clear and firm with the legislatures that the top priority is to flatten our income tax rate in Arkansas so we can be competitive and increase the job creation in this state. And so the middle class tax cut that I campaigned on, that's been a focal point of my jobs agenda, has to be the top priority. Now, within that, you know, there's more needs. I mean, I'm a tax cutter, but we also have to balance our budget, and so you have to prioritize. But, you know, one thing that I hope we can look at over the longer term is reducing the impact of our income tax rate on our military retirees. I think that is an economic driver in the state. We want to be able to measure that more, but down the road, I think that's something that we'll all want to look at.
Yeah, that's something that we've definitely heard during the campaign trail as well. So do you think that could be maybe where the potential tug of war between the executive and legislative branch could be on this idea of which tax cuts get top billing?
Sure. We first have to look at the tax cuts that came from the last session.
That kick in July 1st.
And that Governor Beebe has recommended a delay of those. And so there'll be one debate on where we are going to go with those and how they compare with my new initiative on the middle class tax cut on the income tax. And then you've got some really good legislators that say we need to reduce different sales tax burdens on energy of our manufacturers, on replacement parts. And again, I want to keep the focal point on a priority, and we'll have to negotiate on these others and see where they fit in the longer term scheme of tax reform.
All right, well, ending on a little bit of a lighter note, do you get a chance to look inside the governor's mansion before you move in? Do you know what it looks like? Do you know where everything's going to go, or do you just show up on January 13th?
Governor Beebe and Ginger have been so gracious. They gave my wife Susan and I a 2-hour tour. And this is the first time I'd ever seen the private residence in the governor's mansion. So it was an eye-opening experience, and it was it's so wonderful whenever you see that as to this is what the people of Arkansas have given really for the people's house, but we're temporary occupants of that, and we're very blessed to look forward to that opportunity. But Governor and Mrs. Beebe was very gracious, and it's pretty exciting to see what's the mansion and where we'll be living after January 13th.
All right, well, enjoy the rest of the holidays, and we'll see you in a few weeks on the steps of the state capitol. Sound good?
Merry Christmas to you.
Okay, Asa Hutchinson, thanks so much. All right, when we come back, we'll take a look at the week of headlines in Arkansas politics. I'm David Goins. You're watching Capitol View on Sunday morning.
Looks like it's coming.
Your life doesn't have to stop when the power goes out. You can protect your home from power loss even during ice and snowstorms with one call to Power Systems by Royal. Our standby power systems turn on automatically and run on the natural gas line in your home, so you don't have to worry about dragging it out, filling it up, and running an extension cord throughout your home. Get power to your entire house within seconds. Keep important things like your refrigerator, lights, water, and heating unit running no matter what happens.
Call now for your standby power system during our end-of-the-year savings sale and receive a free one-year maintenance agreement. Don't be stuck without power this winter. Call Power Systems by Royal Windows and More.
At GMC, one incredible idea leads to another. And now more than ever, isn't it the thought that counts? This year, add the innovation behind every GMC to your holiday wish list. Now that's professional grade. Celebrate the holidays and pay no interest for 5 years. Plus get $3,000 total value on this specially equipped 2014 Sierra. Plus get 1 year of Sirius XM.
You've been part of the family for as long as I can remember, and you just mean so much to all of us. The holidays wouldn't be the same without your crescent rolls. We got you a little something.
We got you jeans.
It's about time.
Piping hot Pillsbury crescent rolls make your holidays pop.
Holiday cookies are a big job. Everything has to be just right. Perfection is in the details. Pillsbury cookie dough make the holidays pop.
When you see a wrecked car like this, you better have Attorney Peter Miller's phone number. There's going to be doctor bills, lost paychecks, and some real pain and suffering. And the insurance company isn't going to obey without a fight. When it comes to writing checks, the insurance company doesn't roll over. But Peter knows how to get you your money and keep you out of court. Who wants to fight with him?
Car wreck? Get the power of more. Call me, Attorney Peter Miller.
Nobody messes with Peter.
Peter Miller is the way to go. Now 374-630.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And welcome back to Capitol View. As we talked about with Governor-elect Asa Hutchinson, more than 1/3 of Arkansas school districts don't have fast enough internet connections right now. Lawmakers say they now have a roadmap in front of them on how to change that.
Okay, so I'm looking at Achilles and Antonio and Ashley, and they've got their slides up. Good.
At Pine Forest Elementary in Maumelle, these 4th grade students creating multimedia presentations for key historical figures. All of it online, all of it fast. Pulaski County schools in the majority, about 2/3 of districts shown here in blue, have internet connectivity of at least 100 kilobytes per second per student. The full report released Wednesday finds 89 districts need high-speed help.
Help is coming, that those districts will be served, and we're going to be able to do it in a way that doesn't negatively impact the state budget.
A consultant group says the state has an array of options. The most cost-effective could be a $5 million investment to provide enough high-speed fiber to level the playing field. And the guts of broadband internet matters.
Probably want to save it to your drive as well.
Especially when online standardized testing arrives in Arkansas and every second and kilobyte counts.
Their report clearly showed that the school districts that are still being underserved as far as an access or capacity, that the construction projects are coming their way, that it is being addressed.
And Jeremy Gillum added that lawmakers will review the findings over the holidays and be ready to take action when the session starts on January 12th. Several big issues, of course, face legislators next month, but overcrowded prisons tops the list of needs for cities and counties. The Arkansas Association of Counties and the Municipal League presented their legislative agenda to lawmakers on Thursday. County jails currently house around 2,500 state inmates and are owed around $7 million in reimbursements from the state. Their hope, lawmakers don't wait to take action.
We identified the real problem several months ago, so instead of getting a special session before the next regular session, we've had to wait until now. So it's critical that this be addressed in the regular session.
Chris Valline says that counties will ask the daily reimbursement rate to go from $28 a day up to $35, which will help, but still doesn't come close to the actual $49 a day counties say they spend on state inmates. While a half-century of Cold War appears to be thawing on Wednesday, the president announced the U.S. reestablishing diplomatic ties with Cuba for the first time since the Cuban Missile Crisis in the early 1960s. The president called the U.S. embargo on Cuba outdated and said the changes will create opportunities for both the Cuban and American people. Some of those opportunities President Obama referenced may be right here in the natural state. Many local farmers have been pushing for trade with Cuba for years, among them State Representative David Hillman. He's the former president of the Arkansas Farm Bureau. He says Arkansas rice farmers could vastly expand their market share by trading with Cuba, largely because Cubans eat the exact kind of rice grown in the natural state.
Cuba is the potential to be the #1 export market for Arkansas rice. So anytime you can add a #1 market, it's going to benefit everybody, not just the farmers, but everybody in the community.
The deal to reestablish relations with Cuba is still in the works. That means easing travel restrictions and banking, among many other things. Well, we'll be back to wrap up this edition of Capitol View after a quick break. I'm David Goins. You're enjoying Capitol View on Sunday morning.
Looks like it's time.
Your life doesn't have to stop when the power goes out. You can protect your home from power loss even during ice and snowstorms with one call to Power Systems by Royal. Our standby power systems turn on automatically and run on the natural gas line in your home, so you don't have to worry about dragging it out, filling it up, and running an extension cord throughout your home. Get power to your entire house within seconds. Keep important things like your refrigerator, lights, water, and heating unit running no matter what happens.
Call now for your standby power system during our end-of-the-year savings sale and receive a free 1-year maintenance agreement. Don't be stuck without power this winter. Call Power Systems by Royal Windows and More.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
And welcome back to Capitol View. Before we go, Mike Beebe ends his 8 years as Arkansas governor in just a few weeks, but you'll always have a chance to recall his image. Look at that. There's the portrait in a lean-back posture there for the governor. It started over the summer, this design over several photos, and Governor Beebe said on Friday that he picked out the one he liked the best, and a local Arkansas artist took a good portion of months to make that oil painting. It will be right there in the governor's conference room, so the next time you tour the Arkansas Capitol, just head on up to the second floor and check it out. Well, that is it for today's show. Don't forget, you can stay up to date with Arkansas politics by following us on Twitter at CapitolViewAR, and download the Capitol View smartphone app in the iTunes App Store and Google Play. Everyone enjoy their Christmas. We'll see you back here next week for our final show of 2014. It's a big one. Enjoy. Have a good weekend.
Your list is done, your menu is set, and you can relax and enjoy the holiday because you shop at Kroger and you went online to sign up, sign on, and save more at Kroger.com. To download digital coupons, organize your shopping lists, and place your special orders. Yep, you are one smart cookie.
They're still clipping? I've got all my coupons right here.
Sign up at Kroger.com and start downloading digital coupons today.
In Judge Judy's court, one dumb question brings an answer that's smart.
You left out a word. Stupid.
There's only one Judge Judy.
This is my playpen.
Weekdays at 3 and 4 on KARK.
It's not too late to start training for the 2015 Little Rock Marathon.
Whether you're an experienced athlete or a complete beginner, the Little Rock Marathon training coaches, Tom and Hobbit, can still get you ready for the big day. Improve your health, meet new people, and finish your first race. Training is free. Sign up today at littlerockmarathon.com. The 2015 Little Rock Marathon Training Program brought to you by KARK4 News.
4 reasons to count on KARK4 is your weather authority.
1. Weather Rate's most accurate forecast.
2. Weather on the 4s, every morning from 4 until 7.
3. We start every newscast with the forecast first.
4. We have our own live radar. Everyone else's data is delayed.
Need 4 more reasons? Our award-winning team of meteorologists, Keith Monahan, Greg D., Pat Walker, and